'cause your stare won't ever let me go. I'm here only 'cause I'm aware with you is better than all alone. Oh, 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 say what you're dying to say. No, oh, tonight we're stars but we'll fade away. Go on and light me up, oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up, oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Stars will always come down, so before we come down, down, down. Go on and light me up, oh, go on and light me up while we're golden.
I'm Rob Wheely, and I'm the CEO of Alloy Wheel Repair Specialists. We're the world's largest provider of wheel refinishing, remanufacturing, and wheel replacement. My dad was a car enthusiast, always working on cars of his own and new projects. That passed down to me, and it still grows with me today. Wheels have become the jewelry of the car. People want their wheels to look nice. We provide basic refinishing of wheels. We have remanufacturing facilities that provide extensive repair. We also have put all of our processes through an independent facility that's accredited. You can find those certifications on our website. We do it all. You bring your wheel to us and we'll figure it out. We strive for not just customer service experience, but customer excellence. We want to wow them so they come back each and every time. All of our technicians are trained and certified. We even have a master training course. It's important to love what you do. It's important to make employees feel a part of the team, and they're seeing the same rewards as you do. That's what helps us accomplish our goal. Everybody's our customer. The retail public, dealerships, body shops, insurance companies, warranty companies. We have a claims department. We're the ones that they call to come in and repair it. So if you find yourself in need of wheel refinishing, wheel repair, wheel replacement, or if you just want to custom color your wheels, give us a call. We'll help you find the right location, or you can go to our website. There's a locator on there to find the location closest to you.
Hello everybody, welcome in to Texas Motor Speedway. Here we are getting ready for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series, Texas Spring 200. The field is gridding up and getting ready to go. And we thank you for tuning in here on Ghost Racing Network. Let's get into your starting grid here as we are getting ready to roll off on one of the more interesting mile and a halves. Texas Motor Speedway is different, but we'll go over that once we get to your race info. Starting on the pole tonight is one of the guys that we usually note for his strategy play, but tonight he got himself raw up here to the front, or off raw speed rather, excuse me, and that is going to be Carl Dotson in the 29 car starting to his outside. In second will be Nicholas Isaacs. We have seen that guy getting faster and faster each week. We'll see if tonight is maybe his night to strike it big. Third is going to be Alan Pajari. We saw him win earlier in the season at Fontana, California Auto Club Speedway. Fourth, Scott Glasso. Fifth, Tracy Powers. Brian Curry starts sixth with Joshua Watson seventh. And Austin Fitzgerald, the winner of last week's Atlanta Spring 200 in a thriller photo finish, starts in eighth. Row 5 is going to be Richard Elliott and Danny Gutierrez in the 08. 11th, Jacob Musso. He has Andrew Kotska to his outside in 12th for Mad Sim Racing. Jeffrey Souza starts 13th. He has Sean Kaltenbach in 14th to his outside. 15th, Jeff Marble. 16th, Joe Musso. Row 9 is going to be Tyler Marble and another Mad Sim Racing driver. That's Cody Richardson, the 46th. Bill Benedict starts 19th. Brian Watson 20th. Johnny McCallcheck 21st. Jared Bundy 22nd. Todd Shiro 23rd. Brian Conklin 24th. Row 13, Scott Naslin, Kyle Oakley, Andy Tico, and Cody James. Row 14. 29th, Eddie Musso Jr. 30th, Ryan Haynes. 31st, Jerry Isaacs. That's another Mad Sim Racing driver. 32nd, Ryan Shiro for Shiro Motorsports. 33rd, Cody Matthews. 34th, Glenn Grigsby. And 35th, rounding out the field, is going to be Jeff Shutt. Let's talk a little bit more about your race info now. Texas Motor Speedway, the track is just under a mile and a half, but we call it a mile and a half. It is the Texas Spring 200. We are here in the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. Tonight's race, 134 laps, 100% fuel. 3 sets of tires as always with no faster pairs. These guys are on open setups. And 3 green-white checkers if they need them. 79 degrees outside, 57% humidity. Partly cloudy skies, winds at 6 miles an hour, and track temp at a pretty toasty 112 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, here we go. Getting ready to go green here. The pace car is going to pull off. Carl Dotson, he is ready to go green here. Restart's going to become a factor throughout the night, and they're going to be pretty crazy, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But here we go. Green flag is out. We are racing in the Lone Star State. And pretty good restart here. Everybody looking to keep it clean. At least on the first restart, things are going to get crazier as the day goes on. But out of turn 1 for the first time, Carl Dotson leading the way. And the inside, got to think, is going to be the preferred groove. But we'll see who can make this outside work as we see a big move further back from Joshua Watson. He dives all the way to the bottom. Not really going to make any positions. But here is what makes this track so interesting. You just saw them work their way through the first lap, which is going to go to Carl Dotson. Alan Pajari second, but turns 1 and 2, and you know what? Let's just pull up the dashboard right away here. Watch the speed difference. They have to really get off of it, even a little bit on the brakes, especially as tires go on here. Down to 160 through turns 1 and 2, but this isn't old Texas. This is new Texas. So up here in 3 and 4, these guys are going just about flat out right now. Look at the speed difference, almost 20 miles an hour. Still has to burp the throttle just a little bit there. But they're going to stick around the mid-170s. I know it looked a little glitchy there, but yeah, mid-170s, and then in turns 1 and 2 down in the low 160s. And as Carl Dotson leads, let's go further back in the field here to see how the separation is looking early. It actually looks like everybody got really sorted out and pretty calm, if you will, a lot quicker than what we're used to seeing here at these tracks. So good start here early, and you're going to see the 46. That's Cody Richardson. He is going to try to get behind the 90 of Bill Benedict. But it looks like Joe Musso, a pretty good run, is going to hold any chance of him trying to get by either of those two right now. And Texas seems to be one of those tracks that's a little bit more stable, at least on new tires. It'll get a little bit more of a handful on old tires, but these guys, if they wreck here, and I know this might be a little bit of an off note, not something we usually note, but if they wreck here, there's not a lot of places to go here either. You see this backstretch, there's not a lot of runoff room below that white line on the inside. And on the front stretch, the grass is the only thing separating you from the track and the wall. So we'll see what happens there. Looks like Brian Watson, he is currently 19th, only up a couple spots right now from where he started. And I think we'll see 2 pit stops if we were to go green the whole way from here for most of these guys. Tires, they can make it longer on fuel than they can tires. We'll see if certain drivers, such as Carl Dotson, maybe try to stretch their fuel just as long as their tires, but I think we are going to see a 2-stop strategy either way. So we'll note what the first lap they pit on, and we'll work it from there. But Alan Pajari second. Ooh, the 9. Nicholas Isaacs gets into the wall a little bit off turn 4, and that wall does come up quick, and that could be another thing that we talk about throughout the day here, is that turn 4 wall. Turn 2, not too bad. We might see some people get into it a couple times, but I think the real issue is going to be out of turn 4, where the track just gets really tight, and there's just not enough room. All it takes is your car to get slightly loose, and once that happens, you can forget about it. You are going up into the outside wall. So take a look here at Brian Conklin, actually off the gearbox of Brian Conklin, as he is in a battle right now for 22nd. He's trying to get around that 3 car of Todd Shiro. Here comes Andy Tico to go with him. And it looks like that is Kyle Oakley, one of the Musso Speed Shop drivers. Eddie Musso, in fact, fighting back for that 26th position. So it's still a mess back here. You are seeing multiple grooves. In fact, there was 3 for you right there. It looks like the bottom, middle, and top are working at 1 and 2. 3 and 4, I don't necessarily know that we'll see quite as many. I think you'll see 2 lanes, but just don't know if we'll see anybody really ripping the top. But as I say that, we're going to see 3 wide here. Kyle Oakley, oh, one of them wiggles. That is going to be the 96 Jeffrey Souza. He holds on, and he gets by both Kyle Oakley and Eddie Musso Jr. But, man, that probably got his heart rate going just a little bit. Is on older tires, he's not going to be able to risk doing that. Going back up front here, Carl Dotson still leads the way, but Alan Pajari refuses to back down. He runs second. Nicholas Isaacs third. Scott Glasso fourth. Tracy Powers in fifth. Joshua Watson sixth. Richard Elliott seventh. Brian Curry eighth. Ninth. Jacob Musso 10th. Andrew Kotska 11th, Austin Fitzgerald. 12th, Danny Gutierrez. 13th, Sean Kaltenbach. 14th, Jeff Marble. 15th, Joe Musso. 16th, Brian Watson. 17th, Cody Richardson. 18th, Scott Naslin. 19th, Tyler Marble. And rounding out the top 20 right now is Bill Benedict in the 90. But when I was going through that order, one of the guys that's catching my eye right now is Richard Elliott in the 02. We saw how impressive Richard was during speed weeks, but since then, not by no means doing a bad job, but maybe just not been able to quite find as much speed as a couple of his JBR e-racing teammates, such as Joshua Watson, who he's trying to get by right now. But here he is so far tonight, up 2 spots from where he started in 7th. And that's a pretty good start for the driver of the 02. Andrew Kotska for Mad Sim Racing. He is also having another good run right now, currently inside the top 10. And here he is, the man that won last week, Austin Fitzgerald out of Las Vegas. And a thriller of a finish, barely beat out Joshua Watson by, I mean, fractions of a second. And he was pretty excited about that one. Of course, there was money on the line last week. Your top 3 did get paid, made it a little bit more special. Looking back here at the battle now, Scott Naslin's trying to work his way around the outside of Joe Musso. And the outside actually seems to be working pretty well here through 1 and 2. This is going to be a bit of a tire-saving track, and lap times are certainly going to fall off, so you want to make sure you don't use your stuff up too early. And sure enough, he is going to complete the pass around the Team Marble iRacing driver of Jeff Marble. Jeff Marble been having a couple good runs, has himself pretty high up in the points here so far throughout the season. But up front, and we'll actually back this view out for you a little bit so you can really see it, it looks to be about a 5-car breakaway right now. Tracy Powers, the last of that group of 5. He's got Scott Glasso and Nicholas Isaacs in front of him. And then there's a couple car gap before you'll find that little pack containing the top 2 of Alan Pajari and Carl Dotson. And I'll tell you what, it's so different, too, for these guys from what we did see last week, right? I mean, Atlanta was a high-speed, a lot of, I mean, I guess you could say wreck and chaos action in general. Full throttle pretty much the whole run. Sure, it got a little loose at times, but there wasn't really much letting off unless, of course, you were just hanging around in the draft, not really wanting to go forward. But, I mean, here at Texas, turn 1 is off the gas, and later in the run, Texas even on the brake. Turns 3 and 4 is similar to Atlanta, just about wide open, maybe not quite. But, in fact, let's ride on board here with one of these drivers so I can show you what I'm talking about. And let's take a look at your leader because he is doing it the fastest of anybody right now. That's Carl Dotson. And you heard him get down to 1 and 2. I'll tell you what, we'll redo this here once he gets down in 3 and 4. We'll listen again, but listen to the throttle input. And I mean, that tells the story for you right there. You heard him in 3 and 4, just slightly playing with the gas to keep the back end of the car secure. But down there in 1 and 2, I mean, he had to get out of it before he got into the corner. You hear him roll it around nice and slow, just trying not to use up those tires. And then out of the corner is where he really accelerates. And start to put a little bit of a gap here on Alan Pajari. Only about 0.4 seconds, so not quite half a second just yet. But, I mean, any gap is something that can benefit, as Nicholas Isaacs here is under fire and going to get passed by Scott Glasso in the 4. And let's move a little bit back here. We still got some battles going on further back in the pack. Seems like the front 10, if you will, have all figured out how to pretty much get single file. But back here, these guys are still going at it. Scott Naslin continues to favor that outside line. Now he's looking to get by Austin Fitzgerald. And that looks like Cody Richardson up 2 spots. He is the other driver trying to work the outside. It seems like the outside not quite as effective through 3 and 4, but it sure seems to be working through 1 and 2. And Brian Watson is going to try to get a little bit of a side draft off the 46. You see the momentum carrying, though, down the front stretch for Cody Richardson. Let's see if he can make it stick here. It looks like Scott Naslin by Danny Gutierrez. He is absolutely flying right now. And there you go. Cody Richardson this time does get clear and is going to have a run on Austin Fitzgerald if he decides to take it. Sure enough, he's going to go for the 2 for 1 as they work their way down into 3. Just like that, we are already 18 of the 134 laps completed so far. And if you are just tuning in, you are watching the Texas Spring 200 here for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series presented by the Alloy Wheel Repair Specialist on Ghost Racing Network. See how the back of the pack is doing here. Jerry Isaacs currently sitting in last. His car maybe not working as well as he would like it to right now. We'll show you the track map. These guys pretty spread out already. I would say about half the track spread. As you see, your leader crosses the start-finish line. The last car in line just crosses halfway down the backstretch. Cody Matthews currently in 34th. Glenn Grigsby, one of the independent drivers, he is currently in 33rd. Jeff Shutt, 32nd. Ryan Haynes, 31st. And then Kyle Oakley in 30th, rocking a different paint scheme than we're used to seeing this week. Pretty good-looking one. Menard, 17 for SWM Motorsports. Currently down 4 spots from where he started. He is just behind Todd Shiro. Jared Bundy, 28th. Johnny McCallcheck, 27th. Bill Benedict, 26th. Andy Tico, 25th. Ryan Shiro, 24th. Eddie Musa Jr., 23rd. Brian Conklin, 22nd. 21st, Cody James. And last car, 20th on back, is Tyler Marble. So this is a little bit of a surprise here. We've seen Tyler's been pretty fast this season, but he is sure enough struggling right now. Back here in 20th for Team Marble iRacing. We're used to seeing him a little closer to the front. He's got a long way to go. Maybe playing some tire saving strategy right here. As, I mean, he's only, one position back from his teammate, Jeff Marble. You see, that's Brian Watson that they are fighting with right now, and Joe Musso as well. But there's Jeff Marble, Cody Richardson, 16th. Austin Fitzgerald, 15th. 14th, Danny Gutierrez, 13th. Scott Naisland, Sean Kaltenbach, 12th. Jeffrey Souza. Here's a driver having a heck of a run so far tonight. In the 96 machine, runs 11th. And Andrew Kotska is the final car, 10th on back. Going up front, Carl Dotson. He has started to figure it out now, and he is starting to pull away. That shows you just how important the clean air is looking like it might be here tonight. He has now got the gap up to over a second. Don't look now. Guess who has moved up to second? It is Joshua Watson in the 01. And not sure if Alan Pajari maybe just used up his stuff a little too much, but he has fallen back a couple spots since we last were looking at him battling for the lead, and he is now back to 4th. We will be talking about the schedule and some of the point standings later, but these guys continue to tick off some laps here, and lap traffic will become a factor sooner or later as all the battles have pretty much spread out right now, but the restart showed to be pretty crucial, and if we were to get another caution, you better believe that if you have the better tires, you're going to be taking full advantage of them. But the longer this run goes on, you got to think we're going to see more and more of these drivers funnel down to this inside line as they're doing right now. There's the 6 of Jared Bundy. He currently runs in the 28th spot, down 6 spots from where he started. That is another one of the independent drivers. But Cody Matthews, who is still sitting last, really struggling right now in that 10 machine. We'll bring the track map up again because you see just how quickly they continue to catch. Now they have it, I'd say, over half a track worth of gap, and be interesting to see if they catch these lappers before we get to this first pit stop or not. With the fuel mileage at 100%, you got to assume that everybody is going to, of course, take their first set of tires here, but do we see anybody try to maybe go a little bit longer on tires and stretch that fuel a little bit longer by doing that? Or do you come and take your tires a little bit earlier and maybe do one extra stop than anybody else? No way these guys are going to be able to make it on just one stop. But no, I heard that the run earlier from Jeff, who in practice this week, was about 65 laps at most, if you were really trying to stretch it, it sounds like. But Carl Dotson is about to be under fire here from the JBRE Racing driver who has been so dominant this season. That's Joshua Watson. And I mean, you might be saying, well, why are we talking about him? He's up here all the time. Well, that's probably part of the reason we are talking about him. Driver out of Lindenville, New York, is going for his 3rd win of the season tonight in the Ryko paint scheme. But Scott Glasso is looking pretty speedy right now as well. And what this tells me is Carl Dotson maybe used up his stuff because Joshua Watson has been catching him in an absolute hurry, already on the back bumper. And now he is looking to make a move here down in turn 1. So he tries to pull a little bit of draft here. And is he going to try the inside or the outside? Nothing yet. He's going to have to stay behind. Remember, the closer you get to that car in front of you, the harder all of a sudden that it becomes to pass them as you get in that 30 air. But here we go. He's going to try a move to the inside, down the backstretch. Carl Dotson playing it smart here. Not going to fight him too hard. He will battle him on the outside right here through 3 and 4. But he's not going to try any blocking right now. And it looks like he's got a little bit of a run. Not going to be able to hang on. And your new leader is Joshua Watson in the 01. Looking back, Richard Elliott still running inside the top 10. We saw him running with Joshua Watson earlier. And I want to take a look at a couple different guys, as this might tell you just how important those tires are. I was going to say, let's see how many positions Tyler Marble is up. Since we last checked, it looks like he is up 2 more spots. But Joshua Watson trying to pull away. Looks like Scott Glasso has also made his move around Carl Dotson, and now he is going to see if he's got anything for the 01. As we still have a little ways to that first pit stop. We did put up a poll in the chat and said, will we see another photo finish? Looks like 50% of you said no and 50% said maybe. And with no one saying yes, I'd say it's pretty unlikely. And this is the last mile and a half that we go to before we come up on quite a few short tracks. And in fact, while these guys are kind of in line and being, I guess, semi-docile right now, if you will, let's take a look at some of these stats. First, let's talk about your points. You see your current leader in points is your current leader on track. That is Joshua Watson, the 01, second. Jeff Marble, third. Tyler Marble. Austin Fitzgerald, fourth. Andrew Nieder, fifth. Andrew is not here this week. I believe he is out on a birthday or it is his birthday, rather. We're celebrating a birthday. It's one of the two, but then Dave Sanders is not here either. I believe he is on vacation. And then it's Cody Richardson currently in 6th for Mad Sim Racing. Richard Elliott 7th. Alan Pajari 8th. 9th is going to be Carl Dotson. Rounding out the top 10 in points as of right now at 108 points is Scott Naslin. Our next track up is going to be Richmond, and that's going to be 200 laps. So this is where we start off that swinging short track. So like Richmond, the 200 laps, and then we head over to Bristol for 250 laps. And rounding out those 3 short tracks in a row is going to be Martinsville, the paperclip, for 200 laps before we head back to the big, bad, fast Talladega for the second of the No Bull race. And yes, it is Andy Niedert's wife's birthday. So we are wishing her a happy birthday, and Andy the best. And so, I mean, we might see a swing in who's fast once we head to those more technical tracks. The mile and a halves sometimes seem to favor certain guys, whereas the short tracks favor the road course, they'll favor certain guys. But I think the guy that's been the fastest at the mile and a halves has been this man that's out front, Joshua Watson. Brian Curry, here he is up here inside the top 5, up 2 spots from where he started. Currently sitting in 4th, and he has had some good races and some tough breaks, and he is due for, I think he's going to get a win at some point in the season. It's just a matter of when, but certainly due for a couple good runs nonetheless. Sean Kaltenbach for Team Watson Racing sits in 8th, and he is probably looking for his teammate right now, the other Mad Sim Racing driver, but it looks like Danny Gutierrez, one of the JBR E-Racing drivers, sitting in 12th right now. He is in front of one of his teammates, Richard Elliott. Tyler Marble now up to 15th. And this is a little battle right here on the front stretch, 2x2. Looks like Richard Elliott is trying to get the best of Tracy Powers. And this really shows you that this track is going to be that much more tire saving than what we've seen so far. Because think about it this way, some of these guys that we saw all the way up front are falling way back. Tracy Powers was running in the top 5 looking fast, and now he is struggling just to hold off anybody at this point. He's getting ready to fall outside of the top 15. In fact, he has, so rather about to fall outside the top 20, as you saw Tyler Marble work his way 3 wide around. Cody Richardson maybe starting to struggle a little bit as well. He is falling back a little bit. Brian Watson continues to move up. But the strategy for some of the tire savers, such as Tyler Marble, Jeff Marble, is working out. They are now almost up inside the top 10. They're looking at Austin Fitzgerald next. And Andrew Kotska, maybe the driver leading the way right now for Mad Sim Racing, who, man, it looked like they had such a chance last week. We saw all 3 of Mad Sim Racing's drivers fast. Cody Richardson, Andrew Kotska, Jerry Isaacs all looked like they had a chance at maybe getting themselves a win. Did not quite work out at the end, but, I mean, we talked to Jerry, and he said it. That was some momentum he really needed. And now that he has it, this could be the turnaround to maybe try to put a stop to some of the dominance right now from JBR E-Racing. Joshua Watson has stretched the gap out to almost a second right now, sits at about 0.9. And looking, let's go a little bit farther back here as we ride on the blimp cam. And it looks like the 15 of Jeff Marble is continuing to mow him down. He now gets by Andrew Kotska to finally get himself inside the top 10. And that will officially set his sights on Austin Fitzgerald. I mean, look at the gap he puts on the 47 right here. This is 2 different guys. One of these guys is really struggling for grip. One of them still has quite a bit of grip. And let's ride on board with each of them here. Listen to Jeff's tires here. not much scrubbing. Let's compare that here to Andrew Kotsko, who runs just behind him. And you'll see he just cannot quite run as much speed, as he is going to get passed here again. This time by Danny Gutierrez, who it sounded like was doing a little downshifting. And it looks like he is. So this is a little bit of an interesting strategy that we see that these guys have, that they can do this by being on these open setups. It looked like it didn't work out that time, but let's see what he tries. You see he stays in 5th gear here through turns 3 and 4. He's going to get to the inside of this 47, gets a little bit of a side draft down the front. He is going to pull off, set sail into turn 1. Here we go, watch this. There you go, gets into 4th gear. That'll give him a little bit of engine braking. And I think the other thing that helps these guys by downshifting is if they slip up a little bit, they're not losing as much momentum as we used to see in the H pattern shifting 4-gear cars. And in those track like this, if you slipped up just a little bit, you could potentially be losing 3 to 4 positions at once. But with the downshifts, it's changing the strategy a little bit. Speaking of downshifts, that's what your current leader, Joshua Watson, is doing. Scott Glasso, on the other hand, staying in 5th gear. Jacob Musso having a good run for the Musso Speed Shop. He currently sits in 5th position, up 6 spots from where he started. And that is one of your biggest movers in the field. He is tied currently with Joshua Watson. It looks like Sean Kaltenbach is up 7 as well. Scott Naslund is up 10. Some guys going in the wrong direction. Jeffrey Souza, oh no, we saw Jeffrey up there. Not sure if he has already made a pit stop here, what has happened, but he is currently down 22 spots from where he started. And we will see if maybe, it looks like Jeffrey Souza did indeed go to the pits. So did Tracy Powers. Oh yeah, here we go. We're seeing a couple guys in the pits now. So hold on just a second. This might be the start of pit stops right here. And pit road is probably getting ready to become a busy place in a hurry. So we take a look at the pit cam. This is a tricky pit road. Not easy to get on, as you just don't really have much room once you get off turn 4 to slow down. But I think getting off here might be even more difficult. And we'll actually ride on board here with Tracy as he works his way off pit road and show you just how narrow this pit lane is. Remember, they cannot merge back onto the track till they get to the backstretch. And watch this. See, he comes out of pit road here, and he's going to get as much speed as he can. He'll probably get up to 3rd and then ride around in 3rd. There you go. He's up to 3rd gear here. You hear him, though. He can't give it any more throttle. He doesn't want to spin that thing out. That apron is very slick. No banking. And now that he's on the back, he's going to merge low. Try to get high as quick as possible. And those new tires are going to make that 25 car a lot faster and handle a lot better. I think my question for some of these guys that we see pitting early is they might have realized that they burned their stuff up, and you got to think now they're thinking about just trying to play it a little bit more cautious. Take these new tires now so they have some more grip, but don't burn them up as quick this time, as Joshua Watson has the gap at over 2 seconds now. This is a pretty dominating run here early from the JBR E-Racing 01. The 3 of Todd Shiro, you see him coming off pit road now. And once everything cycles out, it'll be interesting to see if Joshua Watson still has the lead. I got to think at this point he is committed to staying out the longest of anybody. And let's look at the difference in lap times here. This will be interesting. First, let's look at Tracy Power, who is on these new tires. And we will watch this last lap time right here. And you see it is a 30.5, and that is over 2 seconds quicker than the lap times he was running on old tires. Let's compare that to your current leader, Joshua Watson, who is on pretty old tires, 31.5, so new to old tires. And Joshua Watson's tires not quite as old as they could be, is probably a 1 to 2.5 second difference. Just to further emphasize how important the tires are going to be tonight. And at this point, if you're Joshua Watson with this big of a lead, I don't think maybe you care too much about tires. You know you got the fastest car, and he is trying to make sure he keeps it a 2-stop no matter what. Probably doesn't want to make it a 3-stop. I don't see any way that he's going to be able to make it quite into a 1-stop, though. He'd have to really stretch it. See, I mean, he'd have to go to lap 67. So it's not impossible, but be a little surprised to see that strategy nonetheless. A couple more drivers here on the pits. Looks like it is Jeff Shutt, Jerry Isaacs, Ryan Haynes, Andrew Kotska, Austin Fitzgerald, and Scott Glasso, who was second. And now you got to think Joshua Watson is getting ready to pit, and we'll see if we can ride on board with him here on the lap when he does decide to pit. Look how close he rides to the wall here down the backstretch before he dives low into 3 and 4. to hear that car carrying that much speed still. You see he's got a little bit of a diamond into the corner and continues to stay out. No pit stop just yet. Jacob Musso currently running second, up 9 from where he started. He has not pitted yet. Neither has Sean Kaltenbach, who's up 11 from where he started. Jeff Marble, Danny Gutierrez run 4th and 5th. Tyler Marble 6th. Brian Watson 7th. Scott Naslin 8th. Brian Conklin 9th. Bill Benedict 10th. Joe Musso 11th. And Andy Tico currently sitting on pit road in the 65, 12th. He is going to fall behind Eddie Musso, Scott Glasso 14th. Jeffrey Souza back up to 15th now. Brian Curry 18th. Austin Fitzgerald 17th. Nicholas Isaacs 19th. Alan Pajari 20th. Cody Richardson is 21st. Tracy Powers 22nd. Andrew Kotska 23rd. Ryan Shiro 24th. Kyle Oakley 25th. Richard Elliott 26th. Johnny McCallcheck and Jared Bundy currently 27th and 28th. Ryan Haynes is in that 30th spot. Todd Shiro 31st. 32nd. Jeff Shutt 33rd. Jerry Isaacs 34th. Glenn Grigsby. And the last car in the field right now is Cody Matthews. Taking a look again at that track map. Look just how busy it has gotten now around the track. Not really many places on track where you're not going to find someone, as Joshua Watson is making his pit stop right now. And we will see if he's going to be able to hold on to the lead. Of course, it looks like he is going to give it up for now, but I'm more curious to see once it all cycles out. What's going to look? It looks like Jeff Marble has also come into the pits here. So is Tyler Marble. Those two just about bumper to bumper. Brian Watson, Brian Conklin are in. And we're looking at Jacob Musso, who currently leads. Boy, Sean Kaltenbach is trying to get around this 95 for the lead. And it looks like Jacob isn't going to be able to battle him too hard here into turn 1. That inside just overpowers the 95 right now. And your new leader is Sean Kaltenbach for Team Watson Racing. Out in front in the 2, the drive out of Columbus, Ohio. And he's one of the more consistent drivers we haven't really seen. He's had a couple races where I would say he's easily had a top 3, top 5 at worst car. Hasn't really been able to rack up as many podiums as the speed has probably shown so far. So he is certainly looking to get a little bit faster here, as it looks like Danny Gutierrez and Joe Musso are now in the pits. And Scott Galasso is going to be ahead of Joshua Watson right here by quite a decent margin too. And we can compare that here. Looking at the time delta between Joshua Watson and Scott Galasso. And actually, let's compare this. Sorry, let me compare this to a different thing rather. See if we can compare that to Joshua Watson. And it doesn't look like we can only show the difference in leaders to second. But the gap right now from some of the cars that have already pitted looks to be, I believe Scott Galasso is going to be leading after pit stops. You see Jeffrey Souza going by the 2 here. But Joshua Watson will catch Scott Galasso eventually. I think the main question is just what strategy is going to work out, short pitting or long pitting here. This definitely confirms that these guys are going to have to pit one more time during this race. Joshua Watson up to Scott Galasso is a couple second gap right now. And he does have the 28 of Brian Curry on his back bumper. And the 28 showing some speed right now, but I think the 01 sticking with that tire conserving strategy. Sean Kaltenbach still up 13 spots from where he started, so is Jacob Musso. Sooner or later, though, here they are going to be under fire from a couple of these drivers that are sitting further back. And while these guys continue to race it out, we are going to go Ghost Racing Network side by side, but you won't miss a thing. Stick with us. Hello everybody, welcome back to Ghost Racing Network here at Texas Motor Speedway for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series presented by the Alloy Wheel Repair Specialist. And your current leader is still Sean Kaltenbach, Jacob Musso second, Scott Glasso third, Carl Dotson fourth, and Joshua Watson fifth. That is your top five right now. And how about a little Texas Motor Speedway crank it up here in the Lone Star State? And that is going to do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody did enjoy that. Your current leader is still Sean Kaltenbach. And I'm a little bit interested here to see if he is trying some strategy play here. Maybe flip whatever chance he thought he had against. Let's check. Hold on. Before I say that, before I confuse anybody, let's check out the lap times here and do a little comparison. 31.7s right now for Sean Kaltenbach. And you compare those to Joshua Watson, who is still running 34s, very, very fast. And that might very well tell you all you need to know. If we see Kaltenbach pit here on lap 67, then he might be able to go the rest of the way. I'm not sure if he already pitted. We didn't notice him getting to the pits here. I was kind of actually trying to see if I could figure that out, but like I said, I did not notice him pitting here. It did not pop up on my board, at least initially. So for now, we're going to say that the 2 car has not pit and assumed he is trying a little bit of a strategy play here. And boy, he is really, really struggling right now, as you see all those guys going around that are on newer tires. But with the way the strategy works out right now, the rest of the field has to pit one more time. This would be Sean Kaltenbach's last stop. The question would come down to, can he hold out on tires? Carl Dotson, usually one of the guys that we see trying this kind of strategy, but not the case tonight. Carl Dotson is having a good run though, running in third. Joshua Watson fourth. Brian Curry fifth. Nicholas Isaac sixth. Austin Fitzgerald, last week's winner, seventh. Jeffrey Souza. This could be a season high finish if he is able to keep it up. He is currently sitting in 8th, up 5 spots from where he started for Triad Racing Enterprises. Alan Pajari back here in 9th, down 6 spots from where he started. Seems like he's got a really good short run car tonight, but the long run just not been able to work out so well so far. A couple of teammates here, Jeff Marble and Tyler Marble for Team Marble iRacing, driver out of Buffalo, New York. Well, both drivers actually out of Buffalo, New York. Currently running 10th and 11th. Danny Gutierrez, the winner of the Daytona 250, currently runs in 12th. Cody Richardson, 13th. His teammate Andrew Kotska, 14th. Brian Watson, that's another JBR e-racing driver, in 15th. Tracy Powers, 16th. 17th, Scott Naslin. 18th is going to be Brian Conklin. 19th, Andy Tico. 20th, Kyle Oakley. 21st, Johnny McCallcheck. 22nd, Richard Elliott. 23rd, Jared Bundy. 24th, actually, those are going to switch spots. Ryan Shiro, 24th. Ryan Haynes, 25th. Jeff Shutt, 26th. Cody James, 27th. Jacob Musso, 28th. Todd Shiro, 29th. And Bill Benedict rounding out the top 30. Joe Musso, 31st. Jerry Isaacs, the last running Mad Sim Racing driver, currently in 32nd. Glenn Grigsby 33rd, Eddie Musso Jr. in 34th, and Cody Matthews is 5 laps down in 35th. Back up front, guess who did just pitch? Sean Kaltenbach. He is in there now. And this is where it could get a little bit interesting. He is going to fall way back right now. You see him coming off of pit road right now. What he does not want to see, I got to believe at least, would be a... Actually, he wouldn't mind a caution probably right now as long as... No, I take that back. He doesn't want to see a caution right now because he is not currently on the lead lap. Or did he? He might have hung on to it. Be really, really close here. But either way, that does hand the lead over to Scott Glasso, who, remember, tried the early stop strategy. And this is going to be interesting. Joshua Watson has continued to track him down. In fact, the gap is only about 1.8 seconds. And I know that might seem like a lot, but we saw Joshua Watson, just how quick he was able to get up to the leader on the last run and get by. And Scott Glasso, though, now is a different leader than what we saw in that first one. Carl Dotson back up to second. Boy, when he fell back last run, though, he fell back in a hurry. And now Joshua Watson getting by that 29 machine. Brian Curry in the 28, running behind the lapper of Jerry Isaacs. And now he's going to set his sights on Scott Glasso, who is coming up on a couple lap cars here. It looks like Todd Shiro and one of the Mussos. Looking at the track map, it looks like one of the tracks that we're going to be at the next 3 weeks. It looks like a short track. Guys everywhere, the cleanest part of the track looks to be turns 1 and 2 right now. But everywhere else, there is a battle somewhere. And right now, Scott Glasso thought he was going to have a little trouble there for a second with the 3, but not much trouble at all. He gets right around. We'll take a look around on track here, see if we really have any battles going on. But you see it's kind of single filed out for the most part. The restart was certainly excited. I almost wouldn't mind seeing another one tonight, but I don't want to jinx anything for these guys as they have done a heck of a job keeping it clean all night. And some of these tracks we like to do in-race interviews. However, Texas is a pretty technical track, if you will, and that definitely takes a good amount of focus, and I don't want to pull any of these guys away from it, so I think we're going to hold off on that tonight. But I hope everybody out there is enjoying. Let me know if the video and sound quality sounds good. Of course, try not to ask every race, but it's always good when people let us know. As you see Joshua Watson now getting by Todd Shiro, getting ever so closer to Scott Glasso. The gap is now under a second. You got to expect that he will be there in about the next, I'd say 5 to 10 laps at most. I think it might be even a little quicker than that. And Brian Curry is closing in on these guys as well. He also got around the 29 of Carl Dotson. Cody Richardson is up 5 spots from where he started, still in 13th. Brian Watson up 8 spots. One of the biggest movers currently in 12th. And it looks like we do have 29 cars right now on the lead lap. And the first car a lap down, I believe, is going to be Jerry Isaacs. And going back up here, sorry, I had to get a drink real quick. We got a little bit of a battle here, and sure enough, Joshua Watson finally got there and didn't take him long to get to the inside of Scott Glasso. He drops to the inside in turn 1, gets clear, no issues. Not really much Glasso can do. He just kind of has to let him go and save some tires and hope he can hold on as much as he can. Austin Fitzgerald still hanging on to that momentum from last week pretty well, as he currently runs in 5th. And Alan Pajari in 7th. Another good, I'll tell you what, I don't think we've really seen Alan with a bad finish. I mean, last week at Atlanta, a little bit of an exception. He did get caught up in a wreck. But when he is not wrecked, he has been a top 10 consistent car. As Jeff Marble and Tyler Marble are starting to creep up on him. Danny Gutierrez running in this little pack as well. Jeffrey Souza back to 11th. Brian Watson in 12th. But leading the way again, he's led the most laps so far, and that is Joshua Watson in the 01. We are over halfway through this event, and I would say the biggest 2 drivers to keep your eye on is, of course, the leader, Joshua Watson, but also going back in the field here to Sean Kaltenbach. He is the other one to keep your eye on, because I think he may have this where he is planning on going the rest of the way as it runs right now. And if he does so, he would come out the leader here after we see your current leaders pit. The question would be, will he get enough of a gap to hold them off for the amount of laps that he would have left? And I think at this point, if you are one of those leaders and you know about the strategy that the 2 cars thinking about playing here, I think you got to go in early. Get yourself some fresh tires so you can really run them the longer you wait here, the more risk you're putting that you're not going to have enough time on those new tires to catch the 2. As he worked his way around the 39 of Ryan Haynes. Looking out the gearbox here of Andrew Kopska, currently in 14th. He looks out at Scott Naslin, who's up 10 spots from where he started in 15th. Going back to the back of the field here, Cody Matthews in the Bucky's car behind Ryan Shiro. Eddie Musso Jr. in 33rd. He is trying to hold off Brian Conklin here, but Brian quite a bit faster right now. Brian is, of course, on the lead lap, and Brian Conklin, one of the Team Marble iRacing drivers that I feel like he's on the way to a breakout. Just a matter of time. We've seen how much speed his teammates have had week in and week out, and we've seen those glimpses of speed from the 37 car, but just hasn't quite been able to put that speed together for a whole race just yet. Of course, he's also had some rough breaks in between, but I think his time is coming for sure. Tyler Marble up to 7th. Nicholas Isaac still 6th. Carl Dotson back to 5th. Austin Fitzgerald up to 4th. Brian Curry still 3rd. Scott Glasso 2nd. And Joshua Watson running in 1st. Brian Curry, can he catch Scott Glasso here before their next pit stop? Their final pit stop, that is, as it looks like Joshua Watson is going around the 93 machine. We'll take a look here real quick at the manufacturer spread in the field. Currently a Chevy leading the way. Ooh, that's some tight racing there. Joshua Watson maybe not liking just how tight it is down the front stretch. He is still not going to get clear. The 93 is laying it on the side. He does not want to give up that position. Unfortunately, though, in turn 1, that inside looking to be the preferred lane. And sure enough, Joshua Watson is going to get clear right here, assuming he slides up. There goes the 20 down on the bottom of Ryan Shiro. But the battling that we just saw right there, just those little battles can be enough sometimes for that car behind to catch up, as now he's on the outside here. And he might be under attack again from the 93. Just not wanting to give it up too easily. That is Joe Musso. And that's what you like to see from some of these guys racing no matter where they currently sit out on the track. But either way, Chevy leading the way, then followed by 2 Fords. And then just about Chevys through the rest of the field. I thought we did have 1 Toyota, and I thought that might have been Jeffrey Souza. And we will see next time it comes around on your scoring tower. It actually looks like he is in a Ford, so no Toyotas rather in the field tonight. Not that it really matters too much here. The 1.5 miles. Going back to the gap. The gap over Scott Glasso is sitting at 2.5 seconds. It looks like Brian Curry is getting relatively close there now in the same camera frame. So the 4 and the 28 might be getting ready to go to battle here. Going further back, the 65. Andy Tico in 17th, up 10 spots from where he started. And this is a pretty good run for Andy. That is a Team Marble iRacing driver. We've seen him struggle just a little bit. And I know I'm not trying to diss on any of these guys, but we're just talking about, we almost compared teammates a little bit, not in a bad way, but we know these teammates, they of course share setup, at least tips. So you usually expect some of these guys to, I guess you would say, have relatively the same speed overall, but just hasn't been the case for some of them, as it looks like Joseph G in the chat says, is there a new Discord link? The one in the description is expired. Yes, absolutely. Let me get you that. I do apologize for that expiring. Thank you for letting me know, though. And Joshua Watson still leading the way. We will get that in the chat in just 1 second. Yes, of course. Always looking for people in the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series, and they would probably be more than happy to take you on board there, Joseph, if you're trying to check it out. But there you go. There's the link in the chat. Let me know if that does not work for some reason. Let's go back in the field here. Taking a look at Jacob Musso in 20th, down 9 spots from where he started. Kyle Oakley behind him in 21st. Tracy Powers 22nd. Richard Elliott had a pretty good start tonight. It seemed like he was running pretty good. And then all of a sudden here, he started to fall back, and now all of a sudden not able to recover. And you got to wonder if this is that tire strategy maybe not working so well for these guys, because Tracy Powers is kind of in the same boat right now. Tracy Powers was one of those drivers that we saw starting in the top 5, showed a ton of speed in that short run, but since then fallen back and just not made a ton of progress. $85 of the 134 laps completed so far here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. I think it might have been a little bit more interesting if it still would have been Legacy Texas. Of course, turns 3 and 4 would have been much more similar to turns 1 and 2, or turns 1 and 2, I guess I should say, would have been more similar to 3 and 4. But since NASCAR did the repave here at Texas, and of course iRacing uses that same line, it's just one of those different mile and a halves. You don't really think of it as a mile and a half almost, because you run the fast speeds at 3 and 4, but then you get to 1 and 2 and it's a whole different beast, a big sweeping corner, but you really have to slow down to make it. You see all the backfire coming out of the pipes, and for anybody that missed it earlier, we'll pull the dashboard back up for you here. And as you see the weather there, track temp has varied a little bit. We saw it at one point up to 113, now at 111. Wind still at 6 miles an hour. Temperature outside at 79 degrees, but on old tires, the speeds that they're getting down to in 3 and 4 is the speeds that they were getting down to on new tires in 1 and 2. And what better analogy than that to show you here is just watch the speed they get down to in 1 and 2 now. We are looking here at Ryan Shero in the 20 on the outside, and he's probably going to get down, sure enough, to the low 150s, almost into the 140s. And we did see some shifting going on between your leaders, and he has already gotten back to that shifting. Joshua Watson goes down to 4th and 1 and 2, back up to 5th towards the end of the backstretch, and he stays in 5th all the way through 3 and 4 and down the front stretch. And he is coming up on a couple of lappers here, actually a few lappers here. It looks like it's going to be Jeff Shutt and the 6 as well. That's Jared Bundy, and there's one more that is not quite popped into camera frame just yet. I believe that's Jeffrey Souza, who may have finished off his final pit stop. And I think we're getting to that window where we are going to start to see these guys come into pit. We're going to see everybody get all spread out again as Joshua Watson went 3 wide there with a couple of the lap cars for a second. And sure enough, you see some in the pits now. Jerry Isaacs, Alan Pajari, they are both in the pits. And this is where, after you see one pit, a lot more are going to start getting drawn down. There's Johnny McCallcheck. He sits in the pit. Nicholas Isaacs and Alan Pajari, we just noted them. Nicholas Isaacs, where this guy has been picking up speed each week. Alan Pajari been consistent each week. It looked like one of them may have overshot their box just a little bit, as they will get 4 tires, full fuel, and they will be good to go the rest of the race. Does Joshua Watson stick to his strategy? I mean, he has a 4-second lead right now over second place Brian Curry, who did manage to take that second spot away from Scott Glasso, who now runs 3rd. Or does he maybe pit a little bit earlier here? Like I said, I still think everybody has got to be thinking that the main battlefield... Let me rephrase that. I guess I should say everybody has got to be thinking the real battle for the lead is going to come down to the 2 of Sean Kaltenbach in the 01. The differing strategies, one guy is going as fast as he can, and one guy was making sure that he could make it on just the 1 stop. What it seems like so far, Brian Conklin going around the outside here. See if Sean Kaltenbach can complete that move off turn 2. The 37 gets a little tight, but he is hanging on, and now he's going to slam the door on him. They dive into turn 3. More pit stops on the way. Looks like Carl Dotson, your pole sitter for the night. He is on the pits now. Jeff Marble, Andrew Kotska, Tracy Powers, Bill Benedict, Scott Naslin, Kyle Oakley. I mean, this is just about the whole field, and pit road is a busy, busy place right now. And you see all these guys coming out of pit road. Looks like Austin Fitzgerald is going to lose the battle to Scott Naslin out. I believe that was Austin Fitzgerald. There comes Andy Tico, Kyle Oakley, Bill Benedict, as they all watch Joshua Watson go by. You see some more in the background all coming into the pits here. There's Jerry Isaacs, one of the Mad Sim Racing drivers, making the way to his pit stall right here. As the 08 of Danny Gutierrez, actually he's coming out now, already made his pit stop. He will tuck behind the 08 of Danny Gutierrez. Fortunately for Jerry, he is not currently sitting on the lead lap, and if we were to have a caution right now, it would actually hurt quite a few guys, because you'd have to wonder if Sean Kaltenbach would think about staying out just so that he could trap as many guys as would be a lap down. A lap down right now. Joe Musso, he is in pit road. Jared Bundy, we saw him. Brian Conklin. Haven't talked much about Cody James so far tonight. Currently runs in 31st, down 3 spots from where he started. Joshua Watson still leads the way, has not pit yet, and guess who's in second? Sean Kaltenbach. He is 18 seconds behind. And here we go. Joshua Watson's going to pit this time. Let's see how big the gap is here between him and the 2 once he comes out of pits. Sean Kaltenbach right now entering turn 3. And he is going to have a pretty good margin. That's going to be the thing that we're going to keep our eye on. Joshua Watson still has not quite got into his box yet. And now he pulls in as the 2 is already going by. Ooh, and Sean Kaltenbach is going to have a huge, huge lead here on Joshua Watson. And this is where things are going to get really, really interesting on what does he decide to do right here. Joshua Watson still sitting in pit road right now. And I'd be pretty impressed, actually. Just, I mean, the gap is so big that be a little, I guess not too much. It was about 20-something seconds during the last one. Carl Dotson going by Sean Kaltenbach now. Lap times here are just over 30 seconds, so good news for Watson is he is not going to be in any danger of going a lap down, and now it's just a matter of can he tick off 23 seconds and what is going to be here in 4 laps, just 34 laps to go. Currently at 38 laps to go, and that'll be what we keep our eye on, but until then, we'll look a little bit throughout the field here. In fact, let's go through your running order. Up front, it is Sean Kaltenbach up 13 from where he started. Jacob Musso in second. He is running a long strategy as well, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the end. Joshua Watson third, Austin Fitzgerald fourth, Scott Glasso fifth, Brian Curry sixth, Jeff Marble seventh, Carl Dotson eighth, Tyler Marble ninth, Danny Gutierrez for JBR E-Racing currently rounding out the top 10, Nicholas Isaacs 11th, Alan Pajari in 12th, Eddie Musso 13th, Cody Richardson, that's a Mad Sim Racing driver, in 14th, Jeffrey Souza 15th, Scott Naisland 16th, Ryan Shiro 17th, Andrew Kotska 18th, Brian Watson 19th, and Andy Tico rounding out the top 20. Kyle Oakley looking to get around the outside there. I believe that is Richard Elliott. He currently sits in 21st. Bill Benedict 22nd. Tracy Powers 23rd. Jeff Shutt 24th. Ryan Haynes 25th. Cody James 26th. 27th. Joe Musso 28th. Jerry Isaacs 29th. Glenn Grigsby 30th is going to be Johnny McCallcheck. 31st. Brian Conklin. 32nd. Todd Shiro. 33rd. Jared Bundy. 34th. Richard Elliott. The last car in the field currently in 35th is Cody Matthews. I'll tell you what, we have not had a single car incident so far tonight. I believe that might be the first time this season, and that is impressive. I mean, we've had a couple races without cautions, but we have not had so much as anybody go off track, much less spin or collect anybody else. And that is a very impressive start here so far from these guys, but we have had quite a few going laps down. Part of the reason for a lot of that is because Sean Kaltenbach is still out. As you see, only 12 are currently being scored on the lead lap. And once Sean Kaltenbach pits, if he has to, that is, then that would put a lot of those guys back on the lead lap. If he doesn't pit, then that would keep a lot of them trapped. And the gap is closing pretty quick here. It is already almost down to 18 seconds and 34 laps to go. I just don't know if Sean Kaltenbach can hold off charging Joshua Watson for that long. I mean, lap cars maybe going to play a little bit of a factor in it, but I don't think by much. This is going to come down to a good old-fashioned tire-saving strategy versus running it as fast as you can strategy. And we'll look at the lap times again, as we've been looking quite a bit throughout the night, and it'll show you just how quick those new tires are. Oh my goodness. Look at the speed right now from the 01, 30 flats the last couple laps, and now he's going to get into the 31s. Compare that to your leader, who is running 31.2s. So he is almost a second a lap quicker right now, and if you do that math, he is definitely going to be there before this thing is all said and done. If we were to get a late race caution, got to believe that just about everybody in the field should have a set of tires left, depending on what strategies they decide to take, but you would still think that most of them should indeed have a tire set left. If we were to get that caution, I think the whole field, including your current leader, Sean Kaltenbach, would come and indeed take them. I'll tell you what, we're going to take one more break before we stay green to the finish and see if Joshua Watson can catch up to Sean Kaltenbach. Before then, though, we'll go Ghost Racing Network side by side so you don't miss a thing. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway, where we are closing in on the end of the Texas Spring 200 here for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. Your current leader is Sean Kaltenbach, but the gap between him and second place, well, actually what is third place right now, going to be second place once Jacob Musso pits. Joshua Watson continues to close, now down to 11 seconds. And I know Jacob Musso is currently second, so let's give him credit. Trying the long strategy, but he did have to pit before he could make it to that halfway mark, so I just don't know if I see the strategy really working out here for the 95. I guess if nothing else, if he's able to stay out to the end of this thing, he would pick up some spots more than he probably would have finished with trying the same strategy as the rest of these guys, but don't think that he's going to quite be able to make it all the way to the end, but we will have to see what the driver out of Cato, New York can do. Looks like we do have Mr. Nice in the chat, more famously known as Zachary Lima, says, "Fight me." And that is one of his famous sayings from when we're racing with him. Either way, good to see you in the chat, Lima. And the gap now down to 9 seconds. And I mean, each lap that goes by, Sean Kaltenbach's tires just start to hurt more and more, and it just makes it harder and harder for him to run at pace. And I can just about guarantee you now, Joshua Watson will be there in less than probably the next, I'd say the next 5 to 10 laps. I'm thinking more or less the next 5 laps, as he is now starting to tick it down to almost over a second each lap. And he is getting all that speed through the corners. Sean Kaltenbach, either way, you got to give him credit for the strategy play. I mean, you try something different. If at nothing else, even if it doesn't work out, you're still getting yourself a much better finish than what you would have had. And I think at this point, he might be able to hold himself in the top 5, probably definitely inside the top 10, as I think he's far enough ahead out where he may not have to worry about certain drivers such as Jeff Marble, Tyler Marble. We'll see that he's, of course, going to have to be able to make it to the end. And speaking of Jeff Marble and Tyler Marble, they are currently running in 8th and 9th for Team Marble iRacing. Jacob Musso now back to 3rd. Joshua Watson has got by. The gap is down to under 7 seconds between him and first place. Brian Curry in 4th. Scott Glasso 5th. Austin Fitzgerald 6th. Carl Dotson 7th. Jeff Marble 8th. Tyler Marble 9th. And Danny Gutierrez rounding out the top 10 in those beautiful teal 08 color. How about Scott Naslin here? I just was looking back at the data. That's why I went a little quiet for a second, but up 13 spots from where he started, and I don't know if he's necessarily done yet for the night. We see Alan Pajari here going by the 10 of Cody Matthews, who is multiple laps down, and Alan Pajari just continues to impress, looking to maybe get himself another top 10 finish tonight. Some of the guys, Nicholas Isaacs, he has had an issue. He is off track, first car to retire for the night. And it was not an off-track issue, it doesn't look like, but either way, he has retired from the race. Get to see that for Isaacs. He was having a good run overall. Sean Kaltenbach still into the way, but now they're just about on the same backstretch. The gap down to almost 5 seconds here with what is going to be 22 laps to go. And when he gets there, it may be a little bit tougher to get by, but I think Sean Kaltenbach just doesn't have the grip left in that 2 machine to hold him off. Jeff Marble, can he catch Carl Dotson? He's not too far ahead. Austin Fitzgerald, he might have 5th place locked down. It's always good to see a race like this. I mean, like I said, we came off the chaos last week in Atlanta. A little bit messier than it seemed like some of these guys want, particularly Jeff. Of course, the league owner was saying, you know, guys, I know it was Atlanta. Things get crazy. Let's make sure we clean it up this week. And what better way to do it than if we could have an entirely green 134-lap run at Texas, where the finish is going to come down to 2 differing strategies, and one that's going to prevail versus one that almost worked but doesn't look like it's quite going to pan out. Joshua Watson is fighting a little bit of lap traffic right now. Sean Kaltenbach has a little bit cleaner air, but once he loses that clean air, if this 01 manages to catch up and get by, he's going to fall back even quicker. So right now he's trying to keep that track position. Looking at that track map again, you see the track still busy as usual. And for the final time, with only 20 to go before he gets all the way to the front, let's go through your running order from back to front. 35th is Nicholas Isaacs, who has retired from the race. He will finish there. Cody Matthews in 34th. Glenn Grigsby back on pit road. He is in 33rd right now. Richard Elliott, the furthest back. JBR E-Racing driver, but was looking good earlier. He runs 32nd. Jared Bundy, 31st. Todd Shiro, 30th. Johnny McCallcheck, 29th. 28th, Brian Conklin. 27th, Eddie Musso Jr. 26th, Cody James. 25th, Jerry Isaacs. 24th is Joe Musso. 23rd, Jacob Musso. 22nd, Ryan Shiro. 21st, Jeff Shutt. 20th, Ryan Haynes. 19th, Tracy Powers. 18th, Bill Benedict. 17th, Kyle Oakley. 16th, Andy Tico. Andrew Kotska in 15th. Going inside the top 15, Jeffrey Souza looking for potentially a season-high finish tonight. Currently in 14th, Brian Watson 13th. Cody Richardson up 6 from where he started in 12th. And that is about the highest we've seen Cody get up to tonight, but he's looking to see if he can claw maybe another spot away from Scott Naslin, who currently runs 11th, up 14 spots from where he started. Alan Pajari in 10th, Danny Gutierrez 9th, Jeff Marble 8th, Tyler Marble 7th, Carl Dotson 6th, Scott Glasso 5th. Austin Fitzgerald, last week's winner, 4th, but Scott Glasso trying to get by him now. He's going to take him. Ooh, it looked like he was going to take him on the backstretch. Decides to stay back, and they're going to follow around Johnny McCulchek. Brian Curry is your top 3 and last podium spot right now. Joshua Watson 2nd, and he is continuing to track down your current leader, Sean Kaltenbach, who runs 1st, but the gap now is down to just about a second. You see him now in the same camera frame, and while that closing gap was kind of slowing down, it's not going to be enough. The good news here for Kaltenbach is he does have 3 lap cars in between him and Joshua Watson. The bad news is I don't think those 2 are going to put too much of a fight up here for the 01, as he is now coming up on Cody James, who is not currently sitting on the lead lap. And a lot of guys still trapped 1 lap down, and as unreasonable as it seems right now, if we somehow were to get a caution, it would really make the strategy interesting. And you can see it here on your scoring tower as it goes by, in fact, and it shows only 16 cars on the lead lap right now. We may see another one of those go a lap down too, so only one of those cars can get the lucky dog. It would require all the leaders pitting here for the rest of them to get the wave round. A little bit of a battle here between Andy Tico and Sean Kaltenbach. That's not what the 2 wanted. And here we go. Joshua Watson drives to the inside down the front stretch. He is going to get side by side with the 2 into turn 1, and Sean Kaltenbach is going to have to wave goodbye to the 01 because he is not going to be able to hold him off. Valiant effort, but with 15 to go, Joshua Watson gets by, and he is now looking to set sail and pull away as Andy Tico also goes by. Tico, of course, one of the lap cars, but that's really what kind of, I'd say, hurt Kaltenbach there. I mean, the 01 we pretty much knew would catch him eventually and get by him, but I think maybe he could have stayed out in front a couple more laps, but unfortunately the way he caught that lap traffic just didn't work out too well. Brian Curry now is going to see if he can get 2nd from Sean Kaltenbach. He is currently 5 seconds back, and looking at the times, I think at worst right here, Sean Kaltenbach comes home with a 5th place finish, but I think he can maybe do a little better than that if he can hold him off. Further back, the 3, looks like that is Todd Shiro battling a little bit here with Tracy Powers. And that is just about the only battle we really have out on track right now. Cody Richardson is going to get up into that 10th spot. So he's actually picked up 2 more spots since we last saw him. He's going to steal it from Alan Pajari and Brian Watson, who currently runs in 12th. Andrew Kotska, the 2nd running Mad Sim Racing driver, if you will, who currently runs 15th. And go back a little bit farther to find Jerry Isaacs, who currently sits in 25th position. It looks like Nick Isaacs says I hit the wall. Coming off 2 on lap 87, I think ended my night. Broke the toe link. Oh, well, there you have it. Thought that didn't go off track, I guess, but did not show up here in the data. But, well, that would do it, man. We hate to hear that. Having a heck of a night, but next week the short track's going to be different. And I'll tell you what, these next-gen cars, speaking of that, very easy to break. And, you know, we talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast. I thought that the contact would be more out of 4. We said there was a chance that some guys get in the wall out of 2. But I definitely didn't think that it would initially break a toe link, but it just seems like when these cars get tight, they get tight, and even if you get out of the throttle, you just really can't get slowed down. And the next gens, they take damage very, very well unless you hit in the suspension. That is the one area of the car that doesn't take damage so well, and it's really easy to break a toe link, and sounds like that is what indeed ended Nicholas Isaac's night in the 9 car. Your current top 3 right now would be Joshua Watson, Sean Kaltenbach, and Brian Curry. Brian Curry, it's looking a little bit less optimistic on whether or not he is going to catch the 2. He's got the gap down about a second here. That gap between him and the 2, that is. But he's still battling a couple of lappers here. That is Jacob Musso going by in the 95. Austin Fitzgerald still running 4th. Scott Glasso not looking like he's going to be able to get there. Oh, Cody James washed pretty high up there. Looks like he's okay, but that's that tightness that we were talking about. So it looks like Adrian Watts says, let's go 0-1. And Nick Isaacs puts a frowny face. Well, I'm sure he's probably enjoying the encouragement, but I don't think he needs any right now. This guy has been on fire so far. This would be his 3rd win of the season tonight, and I think you could just about say he has wrapped it up. The only thing he doesn't want to see right now is a caution, so he is going to continue to run as fast as he can until we reach that white flag. And we saw the top lane working a little bit earlier. Didn't see it so much later on, but I mean, we didn't really have any more restarts for that to be the case. You see track temp has dropped off some more, now sitting at 108 degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit down from what it was earlier at over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. But at this point, you got to think that some of these guys are going to have to take notes or maybe practice a little bit more. They just have not been able to find anything for JBR E-Racing's Joshua Watson. And once we go back to Talladega for that super speedway race, I think that is maybe going to be the next time we will see all the JBR guys trying to steal 1, 2, 3, 4. We have still seen plenty of speed from them overall. Danny Gutierrez having a heck of a run tonight. He runs 8th. Ryan Watson, he has been up in the top 15 for most of the night. Richard Elliott showed a lot of speed earlier. Maybe had some issues. Oh, it looked like he had a quick thing there that Jacob Musso may have had an issue. It looked like it maybe disappeared just as quick as it popped up. So I think that was just nothing to fret about. I'll tell you what, Joshua Watson certainly doesn't want to hear me making potential jokes, I guess, if you will say, about that. Sean Kaltenbach still running 2nd. He is up 12 spots from where he started. So that strategy looking like it was a good call nonetheless. Austin Fitzgerald, though, now 3rd. He has taken it away from Brian Curry, and he will be the one now to see if he can put Sean Kaltenbach under attack here with what is going to be 5 laps to go next time around. Gap is up to 5 seconds over 2nd place. Austin Fitzgerald just about a second behind Sean Kaltenbach. That is where the next battle is going to ensue. And can the two hold 2nd a little bit longer? If it comes down to 2 to go, we might not see him hand over that spot quite as easily. But tell you what, short tracks and these 1.5 miles are just so different with trying to hold people off on old tires. I mean, at a short track, you could kind of try to hold a defensive line and just, if you get punted, that's pretty much the best way to get around. Here at these 1.5 miles, you just can't run the grip to run any sort of the similar speed that guy behind you is with newer tires. And it doesn't matter which line you pick, they are going to pick the opposite line and go around you pretty quick. As Austin Fitzgerald going by one of the lappers, Bill Benedict right there is going to try to get around Ryan Haynes before he can set his sights on the 2 of Sean Kaltenbach, who's going to try to hold that spot for 4 more laps this time. And that means 4 more times around for your current leader, Joshua Watson. Looking a little bit towards the back here. Brian Conklin for Team Marble iRacing not having the best run out of all those guys. Him and Andy Tico still looking to get a little bit more momentum going. But Andy Tico has recovered pretty nicely, up to 17th so far, up 10 spots from where he started tonight. Jeffrey Souza still running around the top 15. Alan Pajari back to 13th. Scott Naslin in 11th. Cody Richardson still hanging around 10th. And I don't know if he's going to have enough time to pick off Carl Dotson. Jeff Marble 8th. Tyler Marble up to 6th. Seeing if he can maybe get to the top 5 spot. But I don't think he will have enough time either. And now it is 3 more laps for Joshua Watson. But remember, once we see that white flag, this race is official. We will finish it no matter what flag we see after that. And you see he is still hugging that line. I'll tell you what, for a driver on tires this old, it still looks like he has been on rails so far here tonight. And now he's going to try to stay on those rails for 2 more laps. I mean, we saw this guy when we first came out, start of the season when I was new here, and we saw him in the clash push his teammate Brian Watson. And I said, this guy can push. He seems to be pretty fast. And I couldn't have told you just how fast, but now he certainly can. And the rest of the field looking to be just as fast. We'll see what they can deliver next week. And it'll be interesting to see how JBR E-Racing does next week once we do head to the short tracks for 3 weeks in a row. 95 going to go around here. Joshua Watson not going to give him any race because he sees the white flag and he knows that means 1 more time around Texas. Some people call it the Lone Star State. Some people call it the Texas two-step. Whatever you want to call it, Joshua Watson is looking to do 2 more corners perfectly, and he will be the winner. Gets a little bit of a draft down the backstretch. No more traffic ahead. No more traffic behind for the final time at a turn 4. He has been dominant all night. And your winner of the Texas Spring 200 is going to be Joshua Watson in the 01. One of the most dominating performances, nonetheless, that we have seen so far this season. Most of these races have kind of came down to a battle towards the end. Not the case tonight. This guy pulled away, and looks like Sean Kaltenbach did indeed finish 4th. A very good run, nonetheless, for the Team Watson Racing driver. Joshua Watson is going to burn it down. As he's coming around, we are going to go silent here as we go try to find your top 3 and get them ready for interviews. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway, where we have found your top 3 for interviews. Let's start with 3rd place finisher, Brian Curry in the 28 car. Brian, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, let's kind of talk about it earlier in the race, man. It seems like you've had speed at least the last few weeks, but a couple of bad breaks, a couple of things not going your way. Tonight, it looks like they did go your way. You bring it home 3rd. How'd you do it?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I didn't really turn any practice laps this week, and with this being a kind of off week on what the official guys run, I kind of had to reach out to Kenny over at Team Watson for a setup to kind of get me started. And then before I didn't really have a chance to adjust on it. So before I got into the race, there, Sean sent me what he had worked on, and just not enough practice time, not enough time to adjust on it, get it exactly where we needed it. But overall, 3rd place wasn't too bad.
Well, I would say with not much practice, to bring it home on the podium shows that you might have a ton of speed here later on in the season. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Shout out to my mother-in-law, Winnie, the sponsor that's on the car tonight, Encore Mortgage Solutions. That's our company, so it's first race with them on board. Everybody at Team Watson Setups, James, Kenny, teammates Sean, Andy. Andy's not here this week, but hopefully have him back next week. My beautiful wife Jennifer, my 2 little girls upstairs that are hopefully asleep, Savannah and Gabriella. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, and congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, your 3rd place finisher, Brian Curry in the 28 car. And now we will move on to 2nd place finisher, last week's winner, and you can see the momentum surely did carry. That's Austin Fitzgerald. Austin, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, 2 weeks in a row now, really fast. Not quite the photo finish, though, this week, but you bring it home 2nd either way. What kind of strategy did you play throughout that race that allowed you to finish 2nd at the end of this thing?
Well, I knew the only way I was going to get a good finish here is, if we got long runs. So I just kind of committed to the long game and just saved my tires as best I could at the beginning of the run. And, that definitely paid off. But obviously, in the end, I had absolutely nothing for Joshua. I made a bit of an adjustment there on the last pit stop, tried to free it up. And looking at my tire wear now, I probably should have got a little more aggressive with that. But either way, there's no way I was going to catch him. But it was a great battle there with, I think it was Sean and Brian in the end. That was a really fun battle last few laps there, especially with the lap traffic coming into play.
Well, that's 2 great races in a row now. So not only are you going to be looking good in points, but the momentum continues to build for the 74. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Austin, for the great broadcast. As always, gotta thank my wonderful wife, Vanity. Again, she's just such a huge support. I thank her so much for letting me sit here hours on end racing while she watches our little girls. I thank Tyler and Jeff for this league. And as always, I just shout out to my sponsor, Acoustic Design Systems. If you're in the Las Vegas area, head on over to acousticdesignlv.com and see what we can do for you when it comes to audio video upgrades.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Your second place finisher, Austin Fitzgerald in the 74 car. Now let's move on to the winner tonight, Joshua Watson. Josh, you got a copy?
Yes, I do, bud.
Well, man, I think I've talked to you pretty much every week so far. You just continue to dominate. 3rd win of the season here tonight at Texas. I mean, I don't really know what else to ask besides how are you so fast every week?
Well, first of all, I got to say, let's go. This win is so gratifying for so many reasons, with this one being this week being an off week for the A Open and the officials. This JBR team really rallied this week as far as working on this set. I think we put in countless hours and laps between the team and talking to Mr. Ryko from Ryko Motorsports and helping us out. This was a setup that was built, I wouldn't say from the ground up. It was kind of off of last year's, but with obviously the changes to the car and some of the rule changes and everything, there was a lot of work that went into getting this car. And we knew if we could get the long runs, that's what we excel in here lately, is being able to keep the long run pace and keep the tires on it. And tonight was another show of that once we got the long run and we could get out in clean air, we were fine. And this is probably the most ecstatic win I've had yet, just because of the work that's went into this by everybody on the team. Like I said, Mr. Ryko from Ryko Motorsports, this is very gratifying.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to end our streak, I guess, if you will, of the bigger tracks, 1.5 miles and up. And now for the next 3 weeks, we head to the short tracks and some of the high bank short tracks of Bristol and Richmond. So how is this race going to help you when we head over to those?
Well, I mean, obviously momentum's always key in anything, and to have this momentum and 3 wins early in the year gives us a lot of playroom to be able to gamble locked into the playoffs. We can play different strategies and see what comes up. Obviously, got some of my favorite tracks coming up, to be honest with you, with Richmond and Martinsville and whatnot. So looking forward to those and looking forward to keeping this team going in the right direction. All of JBR has been improving week to week, and just can't wait for the remainder of this season. This has been an awesome season, and just, I'm at a loss for words right now.
All right, well, then we'll let you go. But before we do, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Ryko Motorsports, all of my teammates on JBRE Racing, from my brother Brian to Richard, Danny to Adrian. Adrian's fire department, Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department, Moultrie, Palomir, Mayer Brothers. Obviously can't go without all my family, all 3 of my beautiful kiddos, my girlfriend Erin, my mom, my dad for their support and everything, Jeff and Tyler for putting this on, you for the week in and week out, just phenomenal broadcasts for us and everything. Butt Kicker. I know I'm forgetting people, but I'm so pumped right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'll probably have a chance to thank some more in the next coming weeks as fast as you've been so far. Thanks for talking to us. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your winner tonight, Joshua Watson in the 01.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go over your finishing results here. You see it tonight. Joshua Watson, we just talked to, brings it home first. Second, Austin Fitzgerald. Third, Brian Curry. Fourth, Sean Kaltenbach. Fifth, Scott Glasso. Tyler Marble, 6th. Danny Gutierrez, 7th. Jeff Marble, 8th. Carl Dotson, 9th. Rounding out the top 10, Cody Richardson. Good run for the Mad Sim Racing driver. 11th, Scott Naslin. 12th, Brian Watson. 13th, Alan Pajari. 14th, Jeffrey Souza. 15th, Jacob Musso. 16th, Andrew Kotska. 17th, Andy Tico. 18th, Bill Benedict. Ryan Haynes finishes 19th. Kyle Oakley rounds out the top 20. 21st, Jeff Shutt. 22nd, Tracy Powers. 23rd, Joe Musso. 24th, Ryan Shiro. 25th, Jerry Isaacs. 26th, Eddie Musso Jr. 27th, Brian Conklin. 28th is going to be Todd Shiro. 29th, Jared Bundy. 30th, Richard Elliott. 31st, Glenn Grigsby. 32nd, Cody James. 33rd, Johnny McCallcheck. 34th, Cody Matthews. And rounding out the field in 35th, the only car that had an issue tonight, that is Nicholas Isaacs. Don't forget, next week, actually we'll go to it here to show you. Next week, the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series heads to the first short track of the season. That is going to be Richmond for 200 laps. Then we head over to Bristol and then Martinsville before we go back to the big, bad, fast Talladega for the second No Bull 5 race. Joshua Watson leading in the points. There won't be much change for him after this. He will hold that spot. And our final announcement for the night, after this, Ghost Racing Network next tomorrow heads over to Ron Morse Racing's Tuesday Night Thunder. That race is going to be at Talladega Super Speedway in the Xfinity cars. Don't miss out. I hope everybody did enjoy tonight. I know we had a lot of people out here. Certainly appreciate everyone that did come out, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.